Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Nathan Jeffrey from Perceptive Health. We are a clinic in Campbell River that focuses on gut health and brain health. So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about heart rate variability testing or just heart rate variability. And many people have, when you think of heart rate, you think of our the beating of our heart, beat for beat. And although that tells us, gives us some information. So for example, if your heart beat starts going more quickly, then chances are we're stressed out or we might be exercising or something like that. And if our heart starts to beat more slowly, then we may suggest we're going into a relaxation state. So that's regular heart rate. But heart rate variability is actually a different measurement. And what I'm going to do is just kind of go through this overview of heart rate variability. And I'll give you this link so you can check out this website below that we're talking about here today and kind of get more detailed information. So the heart rate variability is this measurement when we look at a normal EKG. So this is an EKG, and each one of these is your heartbeat, right? And then we give you a number of beats per minute is generally the cycle we're looking for. But if we were to look at this EKG, this is the kind of thing you see in Life in the ER or stuff like that, and you were to measure it. You were to measure the distance from this beat to this beat, from this beat to this beat. You notice that this one is actually 953 milliseconds, and this one is actually 1,230 milliseconds. And each time a heart takes a beat, it's always going to be different. So the next time it might be 853 milliseconds, and the next one it might be 1,000 milliseconds. So as you can see, as we go from one beat to the next, it's going to be different. Now the degree of difference between each beat is going to be heart rate variability. So what does this mean? Well, what it actually means is actually that it's the way our autonomic nervous system is communicating with our brain, with our body, with our heart, specifically with our heart that we're talking about. So what is the autonomic nervous system? Well, the autonomic nervous system is our unconscious nervous system that controls all the unconscious stuff going on in our body, everything from digestion to heart rate to temperature to sweating. All those things are regulated by the autonomic nervous system. We don't have to think about it. That's the really fascinating part. We carry out our day and we don't have to think about it. It's all done automatically. That's why it gets its name. Sometimes we call it the ANS. And alone, if the heart, interestingly enough, the heart can beat by itself. It has no problem beating by itself. All our vital organs, actually, for the most part, can do it, can work without input from the brain. And that's because, those vital organs, if we have a head trauma, we need to have our heart still needs to be able to beat. But the difference is our heartbeat will start to speed up and go really quickly, and it will become extremely regular. So each beat for beat interval would be, say, 900, 900, 900. So that would be low heart rate variability because we've lost the connection with the brain. The brain, on the other hand, through the autonomic nervous system, is constantly telling the heart to speed up and slow down. The brain is constantly thinking about what you need to do next. And if you're going to stand up, well, it'll tell your heart much before you stand up that it needs to increase its heart rate. And doing so allows us to adapt. So heart rate variability is a signal of how adaptable our autonomic nervous system is. Our autonomic nervous system, again, tells us to speed up, but also tells us to slow down, tells the heart rate to slow down. And so that's why you're going to get these different amounts of time between each beat, just a millisecond, and it's never going to be the same. It's kind of like a fingerprint almost. on everyone. It's always going to be a little bit different, and it's completely random. It has to do with thought processes in the brain. It has to do with your level of activity, and it also has to do with your overall health. Because one thing we know is that overall poor health translates very well with poor autonomic nervous system regulation. So as soon as we also know that heart rate variability can go down and be lower when people have poor health. Things like inflammation will also lower the heart rate variability. So we'll talk a little bit about what more heart rate what the variability measures, but I want you to first know what this measurement is, the biomarker that we're looking at, and what it means. So ultimately, we want to have a nice high heart rate variability. And throughout the day, it's going to go up and it's going to go down. When it's low, it really means we're stressed out or have a lot of inflammation. When it's high, the heart rate variability is high, it's mean there's really good connection between the brain and the heart and the brain. They're communicating nicely, and that translates to really good overall health and a very, very adaptable nervous system. So real world applications of heart rate variability. Well, when we work on developing a strong heart rate variability or boosting our heart rate variability, we have improved resilience and adaptability in our environment. We have overall have to have reduced stress, optimizing training. Heart rate variability is lowered profoundly by worrying. So we have to have, when it's hot, when we boosted it, we have to work on worrying and thinking about things, and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. Optimize training and recovery. So if you're doing a weight loss program or you're training for some sort of an athletic activity, heart rate variability is a great biomarker to tell you when to stop and slow down. If heart rate variability goes down during your training or any program that you're on, then it's time to take a break. It's time to relax. Your body can't handle anything anymore because you're losing the connection with your autonomic nervous system, which regulates your entire body. It's important for personalized nutrition. So certain foods will make our heart rate variability go up or down. Inflammatory foods will bring our heart rate variability down. And things like anti-inflammatory foods, amino acids, a good multivitamin, all these things will bring it up. We see improved mental health. This is probably the biggest area that we see the research on heart rate variability is for mood, depression, and anxiety. It's actually a very, very good biomarker for depression and anxiety. The problem with heart rate variability is just not specific. It's not able to make a diagnosis. But if you have low heart rate variability, you likely are going to feel anxious and feel maybe low mood as well. But in the literature, it's very well correlated with that. So people with a diagnosis of anxiety or depression can use it in a way to get an understanding of their conditions and what improves their anxiety and depression symptoms, and work on ways to enhance heart rate variability when you're depressed or anxious. Improved mental performance and cognition. So this is used a lot in CEOs of big companies and athletes. Identify risk for disease. So this is really interesting that heart rate variability is associated with all causes of mortality. So basically what it means is as it goes down lower, your risk of a sudden cardiac death or some sort of a chronic health problem increases quite profoundly. And some people are saying it's one of the most profound biomarkers that we really know that correlates well with this. And a measurement of inflammation. So it's well known that when we have low heart rate variability, we have high inflammation. It can also be used to track progress on and guide treatment plans. So this is really fascinating. So when people would come into me for the longest time, we'd get them on a nutritional plan, and then they would come back and say, "Oh, I often feel good in the first month," and after that, it's really hard to gauge because growing your health is like growing growing as a kid. You don't really remember it. You have some growth spurts here and there where you might remember that, but for the most part, it's just steady and gradual and a process of we like to call it a journey. And it's hard to track it. It's hard to check in with that. Heart rate variability is a great way to check in with that. I often see it, we're able to kind of get it up, get it maximized because it can only go up so far. Get it maximized in the first 3 months of a treatment. People are feeling good at that point. And then we make sure when we check in with people that stays high. And the second it goes down low, we say, whoa, 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 you're back to square one again. Let's rebuild your health again. So it's a great biomarker of if a treatment plan is working well. Rebalances the nervous system with the biofeedback. So it's used to strengthen your nervous system. So we have certain exercises, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next part of this course is the breath work. And that's what is required to really enhance the heart rate variability and really strengthen the heart rate variability. And that will help rebalance the nervous system and make it sharper, more able to self-regulate all those automatic processes in the body like heart rate. Someone that has a high heart rate will suddenly be able to go out throughout their day and their heart rate is down. So that has high blood pressure will lower their blood pressure with practice over time. So we can actually strengthen it with exercises, just like you would go to the gym and work out. We can strengthen it with things like breath work. That's the most common thing, but there's other things as well, and diet, nutrition, and lots of cool things. Objectively understand motivation, willpower, provide early warning signs of changes in health, overtraining, or maladaptation. So this is again why I'm always getting people to run this in my office, because when you're down the road, 2 years down the road, if it starts to go really, really low, then we might be thinking there might be a health problem going on. So I like to get a baseline as much as I can. It's really kind of crazy to think that this is a really good biomarker made originally by cardiologists. This is the biggest area where the cardiologists looked at. And it was used in hospitals for many years, and now it's available and as simple as an app on your phone, because technology has got to that point. And that's super cool that we can do that. And it really takes it back to the home. And I would have never probably even gotten into this if it wasn't available for people at home. And that's really been in the last 4 or 5 years that people now can take this at home, because we can now get relevant information from a wellness perspective and develop it and use exercises and practice to improve our heart rate variability or to maintain our heart rate variability. So I think that's where we're going to leave it here. We're going to jump back into this in our next video, and what is our nervous system and the phases of our nervous system in the next video. But we're going to take a quick little break, so we'll see you in a few minutes here.